Hello, everyone. This is how I got in my college timeline. Today we have Devin Rodriguez, who is an alumni from St. John's University, and he's here to talk to us about his experience applying to college and how he got in. So, Devin, if you could give us a little bit, tell us a little bit about yourself and what college did you go to?
Yeah, so my name is Devin Rodriguez. I grew up in Queens, New York, and I studied business management at St. John's University. But the reason why I hesitated was that it was a long journey to get into college, because I started off high school as just an ordinary student. I'm sure, like most of the people that are watching this, in terms of I had an 85 average. My high school just used averages instead of GPA. So that's maybe like a 3.0 GPA, I would say. And then my sophomore year, I did a little bit better, but I was blessed enough between the sophomore year and my junior year. My dad sat me down and he said something that fundamentally changed how I viewed the world. And he said, look at any successful person there is. He says they put on their pants, their shirt the same exact way you do, one arm and one leg at a time. So what makes them different than you? So I started to look at my life and I started to look around and I started to really notice that I was putting other people around me on a higher level than I was putting myself. So what I was doing was I was looking at the people who were at the top of my class and I was telling myself, I didn't even realize I was telling myself this, but I was telling myself that I will never be as smart as them. I will never be as good as them. And they're just the way they are. They're just naturally blessed. That's why they're able to be at the top of the class. And it was funny because the people at the top of the class, the top 5 students who were on the principal's list, which is what it's called, those students never changed. So I knew, now that I reflect on that situation, I now know that a lot of my peers in that time were doing the same exact thing that I was doing and putting themselves in a box. But once my dad told me that, I was able to look around and finally say, what if I can actually be on the same level as these students who are at the top? So I went off to college, to high school my junior year, and I brought my average up to a 99. Now I couldn't go up to past 100 because I wasn't in any honors program or AP. So I didn't get any extra points. So they were getting like 103, 101s because they got extra points for being in more advanced classes, but I wasn't there yet. I couldn't do that. So the next year I was put into those classes and then I wound up getting 104 average. And I was on that list that I was so long not even thinking was a possibility for myself. So in doing that, I really opened up a whole new world for myself. And then that led me to apply to college, in which, despite doing very well in high school in terms of academics, GPA, I was never a person that was very good at taking the SAT. I spent a lot of money, well, my parents did, on tutors, and I spent countless hours tutoring, but I wasn't able to get the grade that I wanted to go to the colleges that I wanted to. So I ended up getting denied from 10 out of 12 colleges and then had only 2 choices left: Hofstra University, which you currently go to, and then St. John's University. But I hate to ruin it for you, but St. John's offers better financial aid. So I went there, and then I found myself at St. John's.
It's amazing. I mean, you did what worked best for you. And you kind of touched on it a little bit, but I wanted to know what high school specifically did you attend, and did they have any resources that help you apply to college or that make the process a little bit easier for you?
Right. So I went to Christ the King High School, which is a high school in Queens, New York. Now, specifically, I was blessed. I wasn't even supposed to be at St. John's. I mean, excuse me, at Christ the King as it was, because I come from a family that we are not blessed. We were not blessed, I should say, in terms of money. So going to a private school like Christ the King, which at the time cost $8,000, $9,000 a year, was a stretch for my family. So I was lucky enough to find an organization that was willing to pay for me to go to high school. It's called the Columbus Citizens Foundation, and they were able to put me through that school. And in my journey throughout high school, One thing that I don't think that there was enough of, although my guidance counselor definitely, she was a rock star, but they didn't have anything that really prepared you to apply for the colleges on like a workshop level, or it was basically you were either proactive and you found a way to learn more, but you weren't necessarily forced to learn more. So you had to either take it upon yourself or it just kind of happened to you. So that's what was available to me. But as far as the actual applications and stuff of that go, I was very lucky, and my guidance counselor was terrific. And then I just wound up, like I said, applying to 12 colleges, got denied from all my dream colleges. And I thought that it just wasn't meant to be. So I went off to St. John's and then had a good old time.
What was something that was very hard for you in the college application process? Like, I know that you mentioned that the SAT was something hard for you, but was something else an obstacle that you found could have been easier with the help of other resources?
That's a good question. I think that, obviously the essay is something that's important. And I think that the essay, like now I've gotten asked by other high school students, like, hey, can you help me write my essay? So I feel as if, number one, high schools would be able to have either college students or professionals mentor the high school students to help them create or develop some type of the essay that they have to write. Or I feel like we have English class in high school, so why not utilize English class and teach students how to write a good, creative, and just comprehensive college essay. So that's one thing that I really wish that they would have hit on more, because once again, it was one of those things where either you took it upon yourself to do the research or you wrote a subpar essay, and it might have affected the results that I got in my case.
So it was a lot of self-work that you had to do and self-researching.
Yes, absolutely. It was something that I had to take on my own. Now, my school, yes, they did have examples that you can look at and so forth. But I feel like because this is an important time in our life, the college we go to, finding additional resources to guide a student more on a one-on-one level would have been something that not only myself, but other classmates would have benefited from. I always feel like having a mentor in whatever you're doing is key. So, I'm sure, and you and I can really relate to this because we were in college. I just graduated in May. We're always looking for some type of opportunity to like intern or do something to put stuff on our resume. So why not utilize the surrounding colleges, use some top students to work with high school students to develop something more concrete or a pattern of, hey, this is how you can really develop a good college essay.
I know that you mentioned that you applied to 12 schools and were rejected from 10. I know that a lot of high school students, when they apply to a school, they feel very heartbroken. They think that their life's over if they didn't get into the school that they wanted to get to. How did you deal with that rejection? Was it something that shook you up a lot?
Yeah, so I wanted to go to the United States Naval Academy, and it's in Annapolis, Maryland, and it's one of the premier military academies in not only America, but the world. It has like a 6% acceptance rate or something crazy. But I applied to them, and I applied to Columbia, Cornell, all these good schools, but I got rejected from all of those. And then I was just waiting on the last one, which was the Naval Academy. And it was April 4th, 2016. And I was waiting every day, checking my email to see if I got an email from them. And finally, I got the email that said, you are not accepted. We're going to look and pick other applicants, whatever they say. And when I saw that, I was in the lobby waiting to get let into the school. And I didn't really feel much at the time. But as the day went on, I was sad. I was a little disgruntled because I really thought I'd get in. But my personal faith in God enabled me to know that there was something better on the other side that I couldn't even see. So I used my faith to know that whatever was coming next was meant for me to do. And that was exactly what actually happened. And it was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. So my message to college students is, if you're not getting into the school that you want to, I understand the pain that you're going to go through. but you have two choices, and that's either to go through it or grow through it. So that's really up to you to decide. And it's hard in the moment to see that, but I promise you 4 years later, when you look back, you're going to say, that's probably the best thing that ever happened to me, just like I did.
That's beautiful, actually. I know that you chose to go to St. John's University. Was there any help that you received to go to the college? Any financial aid that you had?
Yeah. So St. John's really prides itself. I should preface that by saying St. John's is a Catholic school, but specifically it's a Vincentian institution. So Vincentian is a sect within Catholicism, and it's all about looking out and serving those that are on the margins of society, those that are oftentimes neglected by the masses. You get what I'm trying to get at. We look at for the poor. We love the poor at St. John's University. And as a result, one of the things that the university does is it really prides itself in being very helpful to low-income families and giving them as much financial aid as they possibly can. So I got like a $40,000 scholarship, which per year, which covered my entire academic portion, which is all I needed because I wasn't going to live on campus. And then, funny enough, one of those things where I'm talking about the blessing coming out of what I thought was just nothing good, and when I got denied from the other schools, but I got accepted into this program called the Catholic Scholar program, and it is a program in which you learn throughout the course of 4 years how to develop a leadership style that is centered around a core set of principles which are centered in your Catholic and Vincentian faith. As along with that, this is the less important part, they give you $5,000 per year additionally to whatever the school is giving you. But all of that went away once I was accepted into the ROTC program in the fall semester of my freshman year, and the government, the US Army, started paying for me to go to school.
That's amazing. So can you explain a little bit more what the ROTC program is about for the people that do not know about it?
Sure. So ROTC is Reserve Officer Training Corps. They have Army ROTC, Navy ROTC, Marine ROTC, Air Force ROTC. There's ROTC for all different branches of the military, but St. John's in specific only had Army ROTC, so I didn't have many options. Mm-hmm. And it's funny enough, and this goes back to the blessings that I was talking about earlier, I attended a track and field camp at the Naval Academy back in like sophomore or junior year of high school, and I met a girl there named Maria, and she wanted to go to the Naval Academy as well, but she ended up not going to the Naval Academy, but to St. John's. She went to St. John's. Now, she was a year older than me. So she went to St. John's and then joined the ROTC program. So I told her that I had gotten rejected, and she said, hey, why don't you come to St. John's? Now, this was before I even graduated high school. I went to St. John's and I met with the recruiting officer, and he was like, oh, Devin, you should give this program a try. I think it'll be good. You get to still commission and go be an officer in the Army. You could still be in the military, just like you wanted to be at the Naval Academy. But I was like, his name is Mr. Johnson. Mr. Johnson, I don't really think that it's meant for me to do this anymore. Since I got rejected from the Naval Academy, I think that it's a pretty clear message that I just am not meant to be in the military. So the summer went on, and I eventually wound up saying that I was going to go to St. John's, and he called me because I had given him my phone number. So I don't know if that was a mistake or a blessing, but now as I look back, it was definitely a blessing. But he called me up, and I was like, Mr. Johnson, I really don't want to do this, but he said, just do me a favor and just give it a shot. If you don't like it after one semester, just go ahead and quit or just drop out because it's not for you. But I joined the program and I fell in love with it. I fell in love with the aspect that there was a lot of people there who were people that wanted to get better every day. I love the fact that I'd be able to go off and do something that not everybody does and serve my country in some capacity. I was happy that I was in a program that focused on leadership because that's something that I'm passionate about. So I stuck it out for 4 years, and then at the end of it, how it works is if you say that, so there comes a point in time where the ROTC program will offer you a scholarship. Now, in return for them giving you a scholarship, your obligation is to serve active duty or time in the National Guard or Army Reserves. So I chose active duty route, which means that right now my full-time job is being an active duty. For me, it's infantry officer. There's so many different career paths that you could take in ROTC. If you love computers, you can go be part of cybersecurity. If you love finance, you could go be a finance officer. If you love computers, but you also like communications, you can go be part of the Signal Corps. If you like medical stuff, you can go be a medical officer. If you want to fly planes, you can go be a pilot. So I chose to be an infantry officer, which is simply the best way that I can put it is that our job is to, I don't want to come off as this is the best way I could put it, close with and destroy the enemy within the last 100 yards. We fight the fight. That's the best way to put it. So that's what I chose to do because I felt like it aligned best with what I wanted to do in life and the principles that I follow in life. But the great thing is that ROTC pays for your education. You get to learn about leadership by directly leading your peers and leading those that are younger than you. You get in shape, and you really find mentors who put you on a path, not only for greatness within yourself, but greatness that you will bring out of others, which is something that I really love. So I had a good experience. Oh, I should also mention on top of that, I was able to go to Morocco through a program that the Army has. It's called the it was a cultural emergence program in which I lived in Morocco for a month, completely free. In fact, I was paid over $1,000 to go there and train and to really tour all the major cities in Morocco, go out to beautiful restaurants. So that was a great thing. I was also able to go to Hawaii for 3 weeks. I was also able to go and jump out of airplanes. This is all within 4 years. So it's amazing the opportunity that I was provided with.
So everything is happening while you're going to college?
Yep. So you do that while you're going to college, but you do that while you're in summertime. So you're not actually in classes. You have a lot of time in the summer. You know how it is in college. You have 3-4 months of college. And luckily the ROTC program will enable you to do some really productive and cool things with those summer months if you choose so.
So amazing. Which was your favorite experience?
Ooh, I'd probably say definitely Morocco, just because that was something that, I mean, the fact that I was paid to go to Morocco is crazy. And on top of that, I met some really good people and I got to experience a culture, which is fantastic. So it was just such a well-rounded trip and experience that I'm just so thankful for it. It really helped me see the world on a more global scale and experience an Arabic and Muslim culture that I really never experienced before. But man, I'm thankful that I did because it's a great culture.
That is so cool. And my next question kind of ties in with what you just talked about, which was how was it shifting from being a high school student to now being a college student in the ROTC program? How did it influence you?
So one thing that I've recognized now that I look back on college, and I recognize this as I was a college student, we're always told when we're going from high school to college that there's going to be a major adjustment. I don't know if you were told that, but I'm going to actually go against that and say that that's a lie. Ooh. Because what that does is that by saying that there is an adjustment, it enables us to not do as well as we can, but not feel bad about it. So if I go into college and I get a 2.5 GPA, I can easily just turn around and say to somebody, I just have to adjust. But if I take personal responsibility and say that there is no difference, I've been going to school for the past, let's see, at that point, around 12 years of my life. Now the only difference is I have a little bit more freedom and a little bit more responsibility. But if I take the personal responsibility and say, I have this on my plate now, this is something that I've been doing for the past 12 years. But also I've been doing this, but students also have to recognize that who you were yesterday isn't who you have to become tomorrow. So if you were a student in high school that achieved, I don't know, an 80 average or 2.5 GPA, that doesn't mean that that's what you have to go off and do in college, because the beautiful word is responsibility. Break it up, responsibility. You have the ability to respond to any situation. So when a student starts off in college, you have the ability to look at it and say, either I'm going to hold myself accountable to a high standard of excellence, or I can use the fact that I have to make an adjustment as a crutch. It's a get out of jail free card. What you're doing is you're saying, if I don't do good, I can always just go back and say this, and it'll make me feel really good about myself if I just say that I have to adjust. But it's really crazy the amount of excellence that you can achieve in your life in college if you just take responsibility and say that I'm the one that creates my future, and I'm going to take power of that and not let my circumstances take power of that. So for me, I went into college like that. And what followed was exactly that, nothing but excellence. I don't know if you're going to ask about the outcomes that I did in college, but the reason I share this is because I was the student who's watching this right now that wasn't always a good student. I'm the guy that has to study countless hours. I can't just listen to a teacher or a professor speak and understand it. I will fail if I just do that and nothing else. But I was able to really create my future in college and know what I wanted. And I went on to achieve a cumulative 4.0 grade point average, which is perfect, while taking 21 credit hours, 6 of my 8 semesters, which is a lot more than what the average college student is taking. And I mention that because when I tell students that, they're like, whoa, how'd you do that? Once again, putting themselves in a box that if I was in your position, I would never be able to do that. But once you take yourself out of the box, it just becomes part of who you are. 21 credits, no problem. Excellence is who I am. And therefore, this is just something that I have to do. Went on to be ranked as a top 100 business student by the top business magazine in the country, as well as doing some other pretty cool things like starting an organization, a self-development organization at St. John's, being accepted into the highest honor society, all of these different things from a student that started off as someone who was ranked in the middle of my class in high school to then being the valedictorian of my college class in the business school. So it's just funny. The reason I mention all of that is I don't hold myself up on a high pedestal or try to make myself feel good. But when you start off as a student who, I didn't mention this earlier, but was bullied all throughout middle school and elementary school and had a self-worth of literally nothing, to put things into perspective for you and everybody that's listening, because I know that there's some people that are going through this now. I was bullied and I faced racism. And it got to a point where I felt so poorly about myself that my parents started to tell me that I was part Irish so that I could start to tell the people that were bullying me that I was Irish in hopes that they would accept me. Come to find out, I'm not Irish. I'm Italian and I'm Hispanic, but I was not Irish. So I was living a lie for all those years and I didn't even know it until I was older, because that's really what my self-worth was. Nothing, because of the circumstances that I faced. But as I got older, I started to understand that I create the circumstances around me and I have the ability to respond to anything that's in front of me. So I went from the guy who was completely worthless to the guy in college that created exactly what he wanted. Now, I want to share this with people that are listening to Frida real quick. I did something that's pretty funny. So before the start of every semester, I would go on to Facebook and I would post on Facebook, in 3 months' time, I'm going to open my account on, for us, it was UIS. I don't know what everybody else used, but you access UIS to see your grades. But in 3 months' time, I will go on UIS and I will have a 4.0 cumulative grade point average. That was before the start of the semester. Do you know what happened at the end of the semester? Exactly that. Because I knew from the beginning that that's what I wanted, and there was just nothing that was going to get in my way forgetting it. So I say all of that just because I know that there's a lot of people that were just in my circumstance in which I felt like I was nothing. I felt like I wasn't smart enough, good enough. But when I realized that I can create a better tomorrow, I changed my life around and did some pretty cool things at St. John's.
That is very inspiring. I, of course, do want to touch on the things that you do right now, like your podcast and everything that you're doing. But that would be in the How I Got My First Job video. So everyone can keep an eye out for that.
Mm-hmm.
And I did want to ask about the ROTC program path, if it is something that you would recommend certain students, if it is something that you really encourage other people to look into, and why would you do that?
Yeah, so I would definitely look, if I were you and I was a student, there's a lot of people who say they get scared off by the fact that they think the military is like people yelling at you and like this super intense physical regiment that you got to go into. And a lot of that is not the reality behind what it is. Secondly, you're going to go in as an officer into the United States Army. You're not going to go in as an enlisted person. Big difference. Enlisted guys are the people that I'm going to be leading. So as an officer, I have the responsibility of leading, developing, training, coaching, mentoring a platoon, which is comprised of like 30 to 40 individuals. So there is no other job in the United States of America that you can be 22 years old and have direct responsibility, not only over the development, but the lives of 30 to 40 individuals. Now that might scare some people off, but the ROTC program really enables you to become a leader who can do that. Not only that, but you get your school paid for, like I said earlier. And for me, that's something that's big, because if I had not gone to St. John's and I went to another school that didn't give me all the money, then that's something that I really would have needed. If you're looking to really develop yourself in a lot of ways that are not external, like ROTC isn't going to teach you how to write a resume, but what ROTC is going to do, it's going to enable you to discover a little bit about who you are, a little bit about the quirks that you have, a little bit about your strengths and weaknesses, a little bit about how to work with peers and lead peers, which is the hardest thing that I've ever done. Just so many things that you'll be able to learn in a 4-year period. Yes, you'll be challenged. Yes, there will be hard things. Yes, I did have to wake up at 5:45 3 days a week in order to go work out, but it's only 3 days a week. Yes, that did enable me to get in really good shape and feel good about myself, feel confident about myself. And it's funny because not everyone that is there in ROTC is on the same level. So if someone's listening to this and they are thinking that if they go into ROTC that everyone there is going to be super fit, everyone there is going to be super smart, that's just not the reality of it, because there's people that are at different levels. There's going to be people that are struggling just like you in terms of fitness. There's going to be people that are struggling just like you in terms of, other areas of your life. So I would really recommend this program to somebody that's really looking to develop themselves, that has an interest in serving in the military, whether it's a deep interest or a faint interest. Just give it a try, because you're not obligated to stay or give any time to the military until you sign a piece of paper saying, I will serve the military for 4 years or whatever the case may be. So give it a try. But if you're looking for something that you will not be able to find anywhere in college and something that will change your life, then it's probably a good option for you.
Thank you so much. And do you have any final piece of advice for students who might be applying to college soon? We know that college applications are a very stressful process. So one final advice that you can give students that maybe you would have liked to hear when you were applying?
Yeah, I would say you're going to get accepted to a college. That's what's going to happen. You're going to get accepted to a college. What college? I can't tell you that. But once you get accepted to that college, I would recommend that you start asking yourself one fundamental question, which will set you up for success in college. And that is, who am I now and who do I want to become? So 2 questions, not one. Who am I now and who do I want to become? And start getting a picture of that and a picture of the person that you want to become in the future. Because a lot of students just try to run away from who they were in the past instead of running towards who they want to be in the future. So start thinking of that and once you start reflecting on it, answers will come. Can't tell you how long, can't tell you how clear they'll be, but answers will come and you'll start living a life that you were actually meant to live, and instead of living a life that the world has said that you have to live. So yeah, that's really what I would say. And good luck to everybody that's applying and taking on this process. College was the best time of my life. I'm sure it'll be the best time of your life too.
Thank you so much, Devin. This was Devin Rodriguez, a graduate from St. John's University, for How I Got In. And everyone have a good day.